Hey guys, it's MugenLord here, and my God, we have a whole lot to cover here on this channel as far as what's going on with the culture war. And this time, Ubisoft is caught in the middle of all this because they recently announced Assassin's Creed game that have a lot of people excited, but also split at the same time because now, as everybody had wished in the past that they would love to see an Assassin's Creed game take place in the East. We wanted to see Japan or either China at some point to be represented in Assassin's Creed, and we finally got that, but it also comes with some strings attached that really has the community divided. So before we even get into the discussion, make sure to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell for more gaming content here on this channel. And as far as Ubisoft is concerned, man, Ubisoft is just not doing too well for himself financially, and also when it comes to their IP. They're just not what they used to be, and a lot of fans have been disappointed with them, especially with some of their takes and decisions, especially what I talked about where you had one of the executives saying that, hey, in order for us to really push this live service game type of model going on here, gamers have to get used to not owning their games, and that caused a lot of controversy when it came to that type of remark when it came to it. So you already know where we're going with this. So what's up with Assassin's Creed Shadows? Well, apparently we finally got what we wanted. We finally got an Assassin's Creed game that takes place in the East, and that's fine. That's okay. Fans got a chance to get an open look at the trailer itself, which looks really, really good visually and everything. We get introduced to a female shinobi, which is also okay. I don't have a problem with that at all. And then, as we see the trailer, we start to find out that, hey, there's two forms of gameplay. We actually getting some stealth when it comes to the shinobi aspect, which is we'll get that traditional Assassin's Creed sneak around, assassinate, and then we got introduced to samurais, and we're going to have samurai combat, and we have a protagonist that's going to represent the samurais, and this is where the controversy comes into place because now we got introduced to the samurai, and the samurai happened to be Yosuke, the Black Samurai. Now, you already know where we're going. You already can hear it already that, you can hear both sides, and it turned into a racial thing. And when it comes to the whole argument about the inclusion of Yosuke, the overall argument isn't about the race of the character at all. It's the fact that it's the consistency when it comes to the ethnicity of each of the protagonists for each of the games. And then we finally get to Japan, where all of a sudden we have a female Japanese protagonist and we don't have a male Japanese protagonist. Instead, we have Yosuke the Black Samurai. And I think the more so the issue is that the female protagonist, she pretty much is a fictional character, a fictional daughter to an actual non-fictional Japanese shinobi of that time. And then you also have Yosuke, who's a non-fictional character that's pretty much going to be in the forefront in this title, which has everybody talking. So we're going to go to this Forbes magazine because it's not only the West, because every time these situations happen, it's always the war, within the West. But we also have some Japanese fans who are also questioning it as well. So we're going to go to Forbes. Now, this is an interesting take on this that we will get into it. It will break everything down to you, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinion as we go through it. And it says, Japanese fans are puzzled that Yosuke is in Assassin's Creed Shadows. It says the new trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadow has dropped, and this time it's set in feudal Japan. But some Japanese gamers are puzzled that it includes Yosuke. So Yosuke was an actual historical figure that lived in Japan during the 16th century and was most likely of African origin. He would have also been around during the time period that the game is set. However, almost nothing is really known about Yosuke, which in part means he's a great narrative blank slate to work with, but that isn't also without any pitfalls. Now, I'm going to say this. I agree with that fact, is that a character like that will make a blank slate, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I first heard of Yasuke or Yosuke, I'm probably butchering the name. Years ago, I found it kind of interesting because I never heard of a black samurai before. So when I was in my early years ago, probably like in my early teens or probably like early 20s or whatever like that, when I first heard about it, I thought it was intriguing to hear a slave brought over to Japan and eventually becomes a samurai. I thought that was pretty cool to hear something like that, and to see a movie or even a video game based on that. I think it would have been pretty cool. And I'm still up for a Yosuke game, but you got to think about the current climate and situation that we're in when it comes to the culture war, where we have ESG and we have the whole DIE initiative, which I also covered in my Sweet Baby Inc. video when it comes to that, where most of this diversity inclusion is not done organically. Most of it is done because there's a financial incentive. And what happens is, when it comes to these companies, first and foremost, especially when it comes to the gaming industry, since it's become a multi-billion-dollar industry that's taken over by execs, all they care is about their bottom line. And their bottom line is, how can we make more money? And that's the thing when it comes to the ESG. They get more money when they're showing that, hey, we're taking the social initiative to be diverse, but the diverse is not organic at all. They just sacrifice good game development, story, and everything just to show diversity, and then the diverse character itself doesn't really add nothing to the table, or it pretty much overshadows the actual vision of the game that the developers were actually trying to tell, or pretty much give the experience to the gamers. And it ended up hurting everybody in the long run, because the game doesn't do well and gamers get upset, especially when their IP is used for DIE purposes as well. So we're going to continue. You see, gamers have been waiting for Assassin's Creed to come to Japan for years now. It's the land of ninjas. It's the epitome of stealth. So it has always been a perfect fit for a gaming series built around stealthy assassinations in an interesting historical context. So we have a tweet from Manga Lawyer that says, "Let's see how well received the latest stunning and brave Assassin's Creed Shadows is in Japan. I'm sure there's things are going to be, oh my god." So we're going to click on this tweet, and you're going to see right here that you actually have some Japanese gamers who are pretty much giving their opinions on it. It says, from Fun Nayako, a game where black people massacre Japanese people in Son Goku period is a perfect example of UBI. Is this what happens when political correctness is taken to the extreme? And then another one. The sword is in the wrong position. It's no good to have it open at your side. And like I said, when you do a game that's a period piece that's based in regions, it's about also respecting the culture and actually understanding it, which is why Ghost of Tsushima was received very well. A Western developer took the time to respect Japanese culture, and he was able to deliver the experience that even Japanese people love themselves. And we already seeing that maybe Ubisoft already fucked up when you have a person saying that the sword is in the wrong position. And then you have another person that says, "I wanted Yosuke to appear as an ally." Are they mocking Japan? They should have made someone like Saizo Kora an assassin. And then another person said, "It's a bit disappointing. I wanted to play as a Japanese ninja. It's my favorite game since I started with Syndicate and have played everything, so this is sad." And then one more. "I don't think there are any Japanese people supervising the architecture. It's Chinese and filled with lanterns, torii gates and paper lanterns, so it doesn't feel like this. I think the Shogun stands out after the good examples in the drama." So it seems and it appears that Ubisoft haven't done their homework culturally, which also shows their ignorance. That's how you can tell that this is DEI, or this is for the sake of diversity and inclusion, is when you make something like this and then you don't even respect the material, and you confuse the different Eastern cultures, and then you put it into the wrong medium. That's how you can tell that this is not even done correctly, that their intentions isn't right. So it says, "Now one of the protagonists in Shadow is indeed a ninja from Iga. This is a very famous and important region in Japan, and in many ways is the birthplace of the ninja. Anyway, why Ubisoft didn't just stop with making Shadows about ninja in a series where you are meant to be a stealthy assassinate person is somewhat beyond me. However, the issue starts with the fact is that the other protagonist is Yosuke, and he is now a samurai." Now, this is the thing. That's the thing that people are pointing out when it comes to the overall argument. It's not just that Yosuke is in the game and is also replacing a male Japanese character that could have easily filled in the spot. But this is a game about assassination, and now you have samurais. Samurais is everything but stealth. So it seems like they're going against that rule in a sense, just to put Yosuke in there. And I think that's another reason why people also have a problem. So it says Yosuke has been portrayed in a bunch of different ways over the years in the anime such as Afro Samurai and more recent Yosuke on Netflix. And Afro Samurai was good. The Yosuke Netflix series was ass, complete trash. In these works, it was clear that this was meant as an entirely fictional what-if scenario, and they're all great. Having Yosuke depicted as a cool samurai was entirely fine, as it was clear there were a great deal of artistic license involved. The issue here is, and one of the Japanese gamers are pointing out in the trailer for the game and elsewhere online, shown above and below, is that Assassin's Creed is a series about retaining a degree of fidelity to historical events. That in other games in the series, people of that local period were consistent with the history that they varied from. And we talked about this before, which I also want to show you as well from MugenLord. It says Ubisoft, game sets in Italy, play as an Italian man. Game sets in France, play as a French man. Game sets in America, play as a Native American man. Game sets in Greece, play as a Greek man. Game sets in Norway, play as a Norseman. Game sets in Japan. They are saying the part out loud. And this is what people are pointing out. But like I said, people are more so turning it into a racial thing when people are pointing out some of the inconsistency that now all of a sudden the series now has when it gets to Japan or whatever. So it says from MugenLord, Japanese reception from Ubisoft's latest Assassin's Creed Shadows. One Japanese user says, for the first time I understood that what cultural appropriation was. Very diverse neo-colonialists we have here, and which is interesting. So changing it here is odd and not in keeping it in with the other Assassin's Creed game, which is what Japanese fans are mostly pointing out online. And this is why people are upset. People are upset about this, and we keep turning it around and turning it into a racial thing. Now, I will say this, and because somebody I was debating with was pointing out a few things that pretty much was trying to use it as a gotcha moment, where people were saying that, you know, everybody's complaining that, you know, a black man is in the game, a black man is a samurai, but no one was complaining about Neo, where Neo, in the game Neo, the first game, you played as a white man who was a samurai, and they always tried to use that as a gotcha, saying that no one complained about this. And when in fact, if you look at my tweet, I have also posted that, there was plenty of people and articles that people were upset that there was a white man as a samurai in that game, where they didn't, instead of using a Japanese person as a samurai in the game. And this was made by Japanese developers, Koei Tecmo Games, when it came to the Neo series, which gave me the suspicion that maybe why in Neo 2 you have more of a creative character rather than having a white man as a protagonist. I think that's why they probably did that, to get away from that backlash. But people are always pointing to that narrative when it comes to that this so supposedly gotcha moment, when trying to call out the hypocrisy when there is no hypocrisy. Everybody's being consistent about this. And another fact to actually blow away from all of this is also when it comes to this game, or when it comes to the situation, when it comes to Assassin's Creed and consistency, people had no problem with Connor in Assassin's Creed, Native American. No one also had any problem with another protagonist, which people tend to forget, also in Assassin's Creed, that I also want to pull up. Evelyn, Grand Dupe, probably effed up her name. And MugenLord made this too. Was never the victim of controversy in Assassin's Creed because it was a fictional character made from the ground, not a shallow character. Excellent artistic direction and beautiful. Ubisoft lost touch when it came to making characters. They got lazy and dishonest. So what I'm saying is, and what I'm pointing out is, did people just get racist all of a sudden? Now, I'm not saying that there's no racist comments that's happening here in this discussion. Every time we have a discussion like this, you're bound to find people who are assholes. You're bound to find people who are going to be racist, because people like that find situations like that to exploit their racism. But let's not take these pocket people and try to make this and paint this as this is the whole argument, when it's clearly not. Is that In addition, a massive edit war has erupted over Wikipedia about Yusuke himself, which isn't exactly helpful either. It also shows that this is clearly a contentious issue and one that people aren't happy about in terms of history being rewritten. And we're going to cover that as well, because now people are arguing whether or not if Yosuke was in fact a samurai or not. And we found people in Wikipedia constantly changing what he was to be able to fit a narrative. And like I said, this is the mystery behind this character, which is why I think this character would make a good character for his own game. But right now, while we in this culture war, them utilizing Yosuke in a sense to have him in the game, is not going to bear well at all because of what's going on with DEI and ESG. People's going to be skeptical about it. Are we going to get a good portrayal of the character? Or are we going to get some woke nonsense that's trying to push a narrative, and that becomes this focal point, and it destroys Yosuke as a character and as a person in general in the game? And that's the problem right now. So right here you had a Wikipedia war. I don't know why people constantly keep using Wikipedia, but it says in Niche Gamer that Wikipedia page for Yosuke has been the subject of edit wars after Assassin's Creed Shadow release their first look at Yosuke as one of the game's protagonists. And we also go over this. Yosuke is a historical figure claimed to be the first black samurai. The Wikipedia page, as it reads down, paints a more ambiguous picture, as records of Yosuke appear to be few and far between. The article even says he was likely of African origin. However, the real excitement is happening in the talk page for the article. Users are currently having a back and forth about a particular line which clarify Yosuke's alleged status as a samurai rather than a retainer. The line currently reads, "It is important to note that despite the popular myth and modern depiction, there are no historical writings nor evidence that Yosuke was ever granted the rank or title samurai. He was never given a fair nor referred to as one in any writings. Most of our knowledge of his life come from these messages written by missionaries and locals." Users who disagree with this addition feel it's racist backlash to Yosuke's role in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Meanwhile, editors who support the addition claim it's needed to prevent the spread of misinformation. I support the idea that Wikipedia needs to make it clear on the article that there's no evidence that Yosuke was granted the rank of samurai. Many random articles on the internet keep calling him a samurai, probably the effect of him being falsely portrayed as such in modern media. And now many people use these articles as a source. Why are you using source like Wikipedia as anything? There's like I said, the actual sources out there, there's a mystery surrounding this historical figure, but everybody keep going to Wikipedia as this the definitive source when you can go in and clearly edit things. If just one reliable source start calling Yosuke a samurai, people will use that as a source to edit it on Wikipedia. And that's the thing, when you're looking for a source, you need multiple sources to back it up in order to verify it. You can't just rely on one source. So yes, there's a lot of people that's arguing and talking about it, but to end this page right here, what I like about this, this person says, personally, I'm not all bothered by all of this, but I get why it's confusing to people, especially in Japan. Again, I don't know why Ubisoft just didn't focus on making a game about ninjas, which it should have been about ninjas. It shouldn't have been about anything else. They could have avoided all this nonsense. I would likely play the game when it comes out this November, but for gamers in Japan are mostly puzzled by all of this. And that's the thing right there when it comes to this whole entire situation of this game. And I respect this article, and I think it was fair and well balanced, because at the end of the day, you know, it's up to you whether or not you want to support this game at all. And the thing is that we are focused so much on this, and we keep turning this into a whole racial thing, and we'll never be able to get past any of this. And the thing and the problem is it's not black and white. It's more nuanced to this when it comes to this topic. And if you keep turning into race, then we'll never be able to have an actual conversation. And it also still doesn't help when you have racist people just coming in saying certain things too, and these people use it as ammunition. The detractors use it as ammunition to shoot against you. Now the thing is, it also shows that it's ignorance on both sides. You have ignorance on one side of what like that is trying to use racism and try to use their racism and exploit their racism to throw into the fire. But you also have other people that's trying to use certain contexts or in other forms of media as gotcha moments when they themselves don't even know the source material that they're using to use as a gotcha. So what am I talking about here? Well, there's in particular media that people have been using to try to prove a point. One, we already talked about Neo, the white samurai. In fact, in Neo, the white protagonist in the first game is actually based off of an Irishman who was in fact at one point wielded a katana back in Japan at that point. But in fact, Neo is a fantasy game that bases upon sorcery and stuff like that. It's not going for historical accurateness and whatever like that. But in Assassin's Creed Shadows, you have the daughter of a ninja who's a fictional daughter of a prominent non-fictional person in Japanese history, and then you have a non-fictional character that's stepping in the role as the samurai, which got people upset and everything. And this is where the war comes in. So what am I talking about as far as this gotcha moment? Well, Neo was one of those gotcha moments, and I also proved that wrong, that people were also upset about that. The other gotcha moment is the movie The Last Samurai starring Tom Cruise. And I really want to talk about this is because there's a lot of people that's using that as a source and trying to say that people are just racist because no one was mad about The Last Samurai starring Tom Cruise. Now, this is the thing. You can tell that these people just found out about Last Samurai and saw somebody else share it, and then they wanted to share it and everything, and haven't watched the movie themselves, and it wasn't even born when Last Samurai came out. Now I've seen Last Samurai or whatever. Last Samurai, in fact, is a good movie or whatever, but that's besides the fact. I own it on DVD and VHS as well. But the thing is that these people use Last Samurai as a gotcha moment, calling people racist, that you were okay with Last Samurai, but not okay with Yosuke being in Assassin's Creed. Well, what you don't know is, what these people don't know, and I can tell they haven't watched it, The Last Samurai starring Tom Cruise was, one, it did bring a lot of controversy when people first saw it. People had the same gripes, the white savior. And we're going to talk about that in a second too. The white savior complex that Hollywood and many other mediums were really, really pushing back then in the earlier years, in the early 2000s. So we're not going to pretend that didn't exist. The white savior thing was a thing, and a lot of minorities, including myself, especially at that time, was pretty upset about that. And I'm going to be honest with you. First, I didn't want to see The Last Samurai, because you look at the title, you see Tom Cruise, and it says Last Samurai, and then of course I love Tom Cruise, and that's the only reason why I went to go see it, and my perception was changed, because you do find out that Tom Cruise isn't the Last Samurai. He witnessed the Last Samurai die. And that's what the whole gist of it was. And he wasn't a white savior. And in fact, he was pretty incompetent. He learned how to wield a katana over time, but he ended up getting his ass kicked. He wasn't the perfect warrior or whatever like that. And he ended up becoming friends with the samurai. And his best friend, who was a samurai, ended up dying at the end. He witnessed the Last Samurai. So the title The Last Samurai isn't referring to Tom Cruise, but referring to Tom Cruise's friend, who was the Last Samurai. He used his sacrificial samurai, I can't remember the name of it, of like that technique to sacrifice himself at the very end. But yes, I didn't want to see the movie at first because of the whole white savior thing. Especially back then, it was a lot of those movies back then where it's either a white man or a white woman. They come into these foreign lands, they get around a bunch of minorities, and for some reason the minorities can't solve the problem, but the white man come in or the white woman comes in, and somehow she's the messiah that all the minorities look up to, and they come into the culture and they end up becoming better than the culture itself. So these people are good at this culture may be good at a particular thing. The white man comes in or the white woman comes in, learn that particular thing that the culture knows, and become better than the people who invented it. And that's what people got upset about. So seeing Tom Cruise, I understand why people got upset with that. But if you haven't watched the movie, you wouldn't know any better. And people try to use Tom Cruise, The Last Samurai, as a gotcha, and you can tell they haven't watched it. I ended up watching it because I like Tom Cruise, and it was a great fucking movie. I enjoyed that movie, and I was totally wrong. My whole perception changed. He wasn't the white savior. And then we also going to talk about another movie that also deceive people, which people are not talking about, but it's similar to what I said when it comes to The Last Samurai. When it comes to that, if you ever seen this movie called The Last of the Mohicans, this is about Native Americans, and on the front cover you also see a white man on the front cover, and he's all decked out in Native American tribesman clothing and stuff. And especially in this current time and era where everybody, if woke people seen Last of the Mohican in the front cover, they would say this, they would get upset. They would get upset at it and everything. But that was another movie, which is a good fucking movie. I watched it as a kid, and I recently watched it before I even made this video because of how much I love the movie or whatever. But The Last of the Mohicans or whatever like that, and then you need to see it for yourself. But yes, the front cover has a white man on it. He's the main protagonist. But there's also protagonists in the story as well. This white man was pretty much raised by Native Americans, taught him the customs and everything. He respected the culture, and he pretty much seen him as one of them. But this is during a time when the British came over and everything like that. And it was essentially like a love story. The white guy was in love with one female protagonist, and she got captured by the Britons. So he had to go there and save her. But also the Britons was teaming up with an opposing tribe that was going against the Mohicans. So the Mohicans was being invaded by this tribe. So there was a lot of killing going on. So when you get to the very end, one of the Mohicans, which was this older guy, he had a son. Now the white guy and the son and the father, the Mohican father, went to go save pretty much the white woman sister, who was kidnapped by the opposing tribemen and the British. So the son runs ahead and tries to save the white chick, because he was in love with her, and the chick was also in love with the Native American son, the Mohican son. So he ran ahead of the father and the white dude and tried to fight the leader of the enemy tribe, and he ended up getting killed, and because he was trying to save her and impress the white woman. He ends up dying, and she saw her lover fall, and then she decides to kill herself because there was no reason to live. That now the man that she was in love with dies. So the Mohican father was like furious, and what I liked about it was that the white male protagonist, he essentially was his story arc ended. He already got the woman already. She's safe, and now it's to help the Mohican father or whatever to get his revenge on his son dying. So now the white man, he's playing the supporting role. He's in the back helping as the father get his revenge. And he did a damn good job at it. And then the father ended up killing the leader of the enemy tribe. And then at the end, that's when he says the name of the title, that he's the very last Mohican. The Mohican father was the very last person because the enemy tribe wiped out his people. But if you was to look at the front cover and just see a white man on the front, you will automatically think there's a white savior complex going on or whatever like that, especially in this current time and era. They would have Anita Sarkeesian and everybody would have a field day with some shit like that. But when you actually watch the movie, he was in fact more so a supporting character than anything. But it was two stories going on. But it was a very, very, very good movie. And these people tried to use that as their, I guess you say, their argument in order for them to try to call themselves exposing people for essentially being racist, when that's definitely not the case. And we need to stop taking these arguments and boil them down to something as simple as just racism or homophobia or sexism and things like that, when these things and these discussions are way more nuanced than what people are claiming that they are. And that's where the problem is. So another thing I want to talk about before I close all this out, we're so busy talking about the culture war and all these other aspects when it comes to this whole Assassin's Creed thing, but we keep forgetting one thing. One thing is more important than anything, and is when it comes to the current state of the gaming industry. And I noticed that it's not many people talking about this. It's the pricing of the game. These different prices that they have for Assassin's Creed, which really got me scratching my head. And this is something that these guys have been pushing for a very, very long time, and no one is talking about this because everybody's talking about this whole racial thing, when the real enemy right here is the pricing of these games. You have the gold edition, you get to play the game three days early, 2 upcoming expansion packs at $109, and then you have also the ultimate edition. You can play the 3 days early, the seasons pass, then you get the ultimate pack. And then what they're doing is they're scattering the packs into different retails. So some of them have extra missions. that's available if you pre-order at this particular location. That comes to $130. $130. 3-day access, season pass, Sekiro character pack, Sekiro hideout pack, 5 skill points, red dragon filter, and photo mode. This is the stuff that we're talking about here, that people needs to be talking about when it comes to this. This is the real enemy here, and this is other stuff is such a distraction from it, and this is happening right under our nose. And the thing is, fans are going to eat this shit up. Fans are going to eat this shit up, and other game developers are going to see this, and they're going to just keep doing this. Locking things behind expansion, locking things behind pre-orders, certain editions, like missions and stuff like that, costumes and everything. It's ridiculous. This is something that we also need to be discussing. We can still discuss the culture war aspect of all of this, but we still need to discuss this, which I think has a great impact on industry as a whole. That's really hurting the industry, and it doesn't help the gamers at all. But that's pretty much essentially it. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this entire situation when it comes to this. Are you going to get the game? From so far what I've seen of the trailer, I'm not really a big Assassin's Creed fan anyway, so I almost think I probably won't pick it up. But looking at the trailer looks clean. It looks clean. And I understand what people are upset about when it comes to this, but I definitely want to hear your thoughts. Is this something that you're looking forward to? And what aspects of the gameplay are you looking forward to? And what will the samurai bring to a game that's really supposed to be, and this whole theme is about being stealth? So definitely hear your thoughts. Do you have a problem with Yosuke being in the game, or is completely fine? But I also find it kind of sad that, you know, we get into this game and it's made by Ubisoft, and this could have been a perfect time to have an Asian man and an Asian woman together fighting together, but instead the Asian man get kicked out of the spot and you put a black man in there to replace him, and it just does kind of suck. And I've been seeing lately on the internet as well, a lot of Asian men been speaking up about a lot of things that's been going on, and how they're depicted and how they're treated and discarded and stuff like that on social media as well. So this is an interesting situation right here. So I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button for more gaming content here on this channel. This is MugenLord signing off. I'll see you game fiends later. Peace out.